So we get it. We know that shadow work is important, that the unexamined life is not worth living, and that the biggest aim in life is to really know yourself. I want to start a discussion about the nuance of how we go about self-inquiry. There is aligned self-inquiry that brings you closer to truth, closer to yourself, closer to wholeness. And then there's the sneaky self-abandoning inquiry that poses as virtue and nobility, but it leaves you feeling even further disconnected from yourself and even more confused than before you even started therapy. I really want to talk about that distinction because it can be one of the sneakiest traps in personal development. And if you saw my video, It's Not Your Fault, that was a pretty good appetizer for this topic. That video, it's useful, it's handy, but it's a little bit more obvious of the self-betrayal in there. It's like always thinking that you're at fault for things. And that's something that maybe at first glance you wouldn't realize, but when you look into it, you're like, yeah, I can see how that's self-abandoning. Today, I want to talk about something that is a little bit more sneaky, a little harder to spot. That's kind of the idea as I have been mapping out these videos, is that we're going to keep getting deeper and deeper into these topics, into the shadows and consciousness, with the aim of uncovering the hidden treasure underneath. And something that no one really explained to me that I came across in my own trials and tribulations through my own DIY mental health journey, which turned into a spiritual awakening. And I literally crawled my way out of the darkest recesses of my mind for years. Even though I'm still continuing to develop a deeper level of understanding and I'm going deeper and deeper into my own psyche, I am at a place where I feel more cohesion than ever before, and I have a myriad of experiences and journal entries and real life scenarios to talk to you about, show you that you can also make your way out of the darkness and reach your own inner peace and self-trust and true love. So I invite you to journey with me. We'll do a brief overview of self-abandonment, and that is just any time that you have a need. It could be an emotional need, it could be a physical need. You fail to meet your own need in the name of some sort of pretense. This could be that you're the bigger person. I don't have time to look at this right now. It could be that I have to be strong. You know, it can look like the obvious people pleasing. It could look like saying yes when you want to say no, poor boundaries. But these are all a little bit sneaky, but they're pretty obvious of when we're being unfair to ourselves. Can pretend to be your friend, and it is essentially, I'm not one of those people who thinks that your ego is your enemy. I understand that it is a protective mechanism that has allowed you to be able to feel some sense of normalcy or even like happiness in your life, especially when you grew up in circumstances that were very severe or very harsh. I can also understand that it's not helpful anymore. I'm willing to allow myself to feel deeply, to see deeply in a way that I couldn't before, out of fear or out of protection, and that my ego is still wanting to keep that film there, even though I'm like, hey, it's okay, I have the capacity now, on my own reserve, through my own right, through my own self-sustaining fountain of love, to face and to feel these things. But you have to really convince your body and your nervous system that it's safe to do so. It comes up with really clever ways to protect you. And I'd actually like to start by talking about two of the times that this showed up for me, and it really clicked and I saw it for what it was. One of the times I was at home, it was a weekend and I was watching a movie, and it was just totally uncalled for. An intrusive thought came in and it told me, you keep yourself isolated because you're afraid of human connection. And so you go on these dates and you find faults with everybody that you date, and you're doing it under the guise of looking for alignment and like really looking for resonance in someone. But the truth is that you're just keeping yourself isolated because you're scared. And I'm trying to enjoy my movie, and this thought comes in and I'm like, is that true? And my body kind of starts to tense up and my heart's kind of racing, and I get this panicky feeling of like, oh my gosh, I did a bad thing. Like, again, with the best of intentions, I can't get it right. I just can never get it right. And so these thoughts are coming in and I'm starting to like feel that doom and that hopelessness of like, you've got to be kidding me. Just a grace came in, because all of a sudden I had the wisdom to say in that moment, I'm not leaving you. And I said it out loud. I said, I'm not leaving you, because I saw that I was starting to turn against myself. And the moment that I said it, my body relaxed. My heart was still beating, but the tension, that nastiness just relaxed, and it was like a fog cleared. And I was really affected by this. I had, my heart was racing. I felt shaky, and I paused the movie. I got up and I went to my art supplies. And I just felt like I needed to get this out. And so I gather all of my art supplies, and then I grab a notebook and a pen, and I start journaling, because it was like this clarity, this rush of clarity came in. And I'm actually gonna read you some of what I journaled, and I'm gonna show you what I created that day. So, what are you waiting for? Frantically gathers art supplies while murmuring to myself, I'm going to live over and over. I'm going to live, I'm going to live, I'm going to live. And then I wrote, fire, I'm going to live. Is that what I've been doing? Finding the will to live. The world is your oyster. That means you do what you want, not that the external conditions change. True pleasure. That's the irony. And then I wrote, when is it hedonism? Gnosis said it would be hedonistic to give into pleasure. Bashar says that it's the key to living. I say, Paloma says, pleasure, true pleasure, it has no aim. It exists purely for the joy of existing. True pleasure isn't seeking. In another, it gives you permission to take pleasure. Pleasure is your birthright. What makes you feel that pleasure was wrong? You so accepted it and said, never again will I have true pleasure. All of the learning to delay the day that you allow yourself pleasure. Okay, this goes on, and you know what? This could be its own separate video about pleasure, because I am... Oh, and then I start talking about time warps, because this was a time warp experience. How to stop a time warp. Flow state is also a time warp, but in the positive direction. This is so good. I'm just gonna have to break this down into another video. But essentially, I'm getting like all kinds of clarity all of a sudden. Like I can think straight, and I'm like full of desire and passion to live and act and be. And I created this. I am going to live, and and like fireworks and things. It's a big moment for me. And that's when I was like, oh, that was self-abandoning. But see, it wasn't a clear, obvious voice that's like bullying and is like, you're dumb. And like, it was disguised as insight and truth and like something being helpful and like mercy almost. Like, hey, you should see this about yourself. I have another story as well. It was a situation where I left off with someone on kind of uncertain terms, and I felt misunderstood. And it wasn't bad. It wasn't that there was a huge argument. It just, I didn't quite like the way that there was no closure and the way things left off. But, you know, time passed. If I ever did happen to think about this person, it was just very much love for them, for myself. And I was like, okay, good. I found a peace with the situation. So I thought. There was a day when this person was mentioned, and I felt that my body had a reaction. I felt that my stomach was kind of in knots, and this is weird. I thought I had worked through this, and I didn't go directly into like, let me journal it, let me meditate on it. No, I decided to go into avoidance, which for me is food. So I was like having ice cream. I can tell when something's bothering me and I don't want to look into it right away, because my whole day, the way that I live my day, is not from this like really blissful, like aligned place. Finally, I was like, let me see what's going on. Let me find out what's happening. I don't want to avoid it anymore. What happened was that I started to go into my mind and think like, okay, well, I had a physical reaction. This must mean that I'm still upset. That means that I really wasn't at peace with the situation, that I had just told myself that I was at peace with it. And then I started thinking about like, what would happen if I ever saw this person? And every scenario that would come to mind was like really negative or like super sad. It was again making me feel that uneasiness, that hopeless feeling. What is truth? I feel like I'm confused. I wanted to ask my spirit guides. I am an Akashic reader, I'm a channeler. However, when it comes to reading for myself, when I'm in distress and not in alignment, it's not good. I'm not very clear. And so it gets hard because you want to use these tools to gain clarity, but it's hard to use the tools when you're not clear. But the good thing is that I do have this belief system, and I mentioned this in my previous video, and I'll link it above. I go into further into depth, but I have a belief system that when I get out of alignment and when I start to spiral and when I'm in confusion, that my soul will always call me back, that life is gonna send situations, the people, the things, the signs, the synchronicities that bring me back to myself and help me remember. And so I have this belief system that one way or another, I'm gonna find my way back. So I had that going for me. I decided that I'm gonna try tarot. And as best as I could, I got myself as the most relaxed state that I could muster, and I pulled the tarot cards, and the cards came out, and I was again having a hard time reading them because my own self-doubt was coming in, and I was like, is it saying that I healed it? Is it saying that I'm stuck? So I couldn't quite read the cards. I decided to use ChatGPT. So I told ChatGPT, I asked the tarot cards this question, which is, what is keeping me stuck in the situation? And here are the cards that I pulled. And then ChatGPT gave me an interpretation that brought me back to myself. And I knew that the reason this happened was because of that belief system that I have, that life will find a way to get me back on track. And it used, in this case, ChatGPT to do so. So ChatGPT told me, yes, the cards are showing that you have made significant progress, but your body needs to catch up and is asking for compassion. And there's no need to reassign meaning to the situation or, start to unnecessarily create an even bigger mess. It's just that your body still has an association, and it may not even be linked to this particular person. It could be a memory of when you were younger and you felt misunderstood, and you're feeling that somatic memory in your body, and you're trying to make logical meaning out of this encounter with this person now in modern day. And even that's like the psychological lens to look at it from, and that's like parts work in a way, but even spirituality would say that these wounds can be lifetime deep. And so you are trying to make sense of what this means, of what the sensation of the body means, by telling yourself a story, and you don't even know if it began in 800 BC. It just goes to show how limited our mind is, and when you're trying to cognitively think your way out of a problem, it's not going to work, because that's not exactly, healing isn't linear like that. It's not all or nothing. It's not like, oh, just because at this very moment you felt uneasy means that you never had peace with the situation. It's like, no, because you know very well that you were at peace. And so what's up for discussion here? It was able to ground me back, and I felt that relief again. And then I realized there it was again. There was the self-abandonment that was posturing as me not avoiding and not spiritually bypassing. It's not an obvious like inner voice bully. It's like something that is pretending to be helpful. And so it makes me think of all the times that self-abandonment postures as virtue, of being, humble, of being just a giver, of being a caretaker, but you're neglecting your own needs truly and deep down. And it's any single action can go either way. You could truly be being virtuous. You could be truly in humility. You could be truly embodying that caretaker in you. And the difference is not the action itself, but it's that underlying energy that I've talked about. The giveaway on how to know is that true aligned inquiry is soft, is curious. It brings you into self-compassion. It's okay with not knowing. And it's more about being willing to experience what is fully. Whereas abandoning inquiry, it leaves you feeling more confused. You kind of become suspicious of yourself. You spiral, and you feel even more misaligned. And so that's a good way to know, which am I engaging in? And it's not that you won't feel uncomfortable. Like, true self-inquiry may very well bring you to some uncomfortable truths. There may be some grace there to say, hey, there really is some habits here that are not serving you, and it's okay to drop. Okay, so I touched on this, but I want to go back to it because it's an important distinction, and that is we feel a trigger in the body, and then we want to assign a story to it or try to understand it. I actually consulted Sekhmet again for this, and I have another channeling from her. She says, there was a little piece that was just for me, so I'm going to skip it, but most of it is applicable for everyone. You are understanding that my ferocity is not something used against your obsessions and conditioned patterns, but rather the fierce force of unbreakable inner resolve. The conviction to mean wholeheartedly when you say that nothing, no situation, no person, no friendship, no acquaintance, no lover will ever come between the bond of your spirit, soul, body, mind, and heart. When the story comes in that causes confusion, you do not need to work out if it's true, if it is logically sound. No need to go into defense or proving or searching for evidence. You can say to yourself, that's an interesting thought. It may be so. I don't know if it's true or not, but I do know that I've been through enough and I am enough. I will be met with nothing but love and full compassion. I deserve nothing less. You are precious. Hold yourself in reverence because it is deserved. Delight in how beautiful it is to be you. And suddenly, the issue that caused you the temptation of spiraling negatively has catapulted you into realizing your magnificence once again. You wanted to know if this was spiritually bypassing, erroneously washing your hands of wrongdoing. Here is how you know. What prevents you from total bliss is the idea that you are turning a blind eye to your flaws, not that this is in and of itself true. I have eternal patience for you, my beloved. The more patience you exercise with yourself, the more you can taste the fullness of being. Take a big breath.